Anyway, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our four-way test of the things we say or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? All right, good to have you all with us today. For those of you who are on this thing, we're glad to have you as well. Today is December 2nd, the year 2025. Just finally getting that year down, and we're going to change it. It's day number 336 of the year. Wisconsin Badgers, 2-7 in the conference, 4-8 overall. The Gophers, who have the axe.
How about those Vikings?
Let's not go there. Anyway, we'll get there. Minnesota is 5-4 in the conference, 7-5 overall. And the Packers really look good, 8-3-1. The Vikings are 4-8 and looking forward to playing golf in January. Things you probably don't need to know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. A typical number 2 pencil can draw a line 35 miles long.
Wow.
That I know I had to look that up like 3 times, really. The eraser's only good for 2 feet.
On a good day.
Yeah, a good day. Birthdays. Jim Mastrangelo has got a birthday, but he decided to leave, so we can't sing to him. He's in California, and we're loud, but we're not that loud. No anniversaries this week. Tiffany Tobias is our guest today. She finally found her way down here. You know, you enter that sliding door, it's just silent. Am I in the right place? But yeah, and I don't know, do we have any other guests today? I don't think. Any online? Great. So, a little poem. This one I wrote. Gratitude shines the week of Thanksgiving Day. Food, family, and football to watch and to play. At 77, memories flood back from past years, and I'm thankful for joys, laughs, hurts, and even tears. Thankful for more than my wealth and stock dividends. True riches are measured in family, health, and friends. The greatest thanks of all that I raise to the sky is that my snowblower started on the first try.
Amen.
Very good. All right. Couple of announcements. So our member minute today was Jim, and he's obviously in California, so we will move him to the end of the line there. So we'll move that ahead. Am I correct? January 12th is the day for the holiday party. Is that correct? Do I have that date right? Okay, great. So January 12th for the holiday party. A reminder that we do not have meetings on the 23rd or the 30th. So time for sleeping in maybe a moment longer and getting everything ready for the various holidays that follow. So those are the 2 announcements that I have, with one change. I did note that we were going to have a meeting after the meeting on December the 9th. We are going to change that around a little bit. We are going to have the foundation presentation on January the 20th and have that be for the entire guest piece of the meeting. So instead of trying to put things together, we're going to have that on January 20th. So both things fulfilled. We have a wonderful speaker for December 9th with, I believe, some musical entertainment. Not sure, but I've heard rumored. And then January 20th with plenty of time for the foundation and for Anna Lee to present. So a little bit of a change there. All right, that's what I have for Rotary information from the presidency. What do we have for Rotary moments? Dan.
Well, I know the last time I gave a report, I was thinking that we were gonna be digging and moving forward, and we're looking at the beautiful weather outside. But we did run into a snafu with the city, is that the city all of a sudden came to us and said, we need to go through planning commission and get approvals before they're gonna give us permits to dig. So we at the earliest are gonna be able to go is probably February. If you've got anybody you know at the city, we need some help to get this through. As I look at somebody. But honest, we've kind of run into the snafu, but then on the other hand, we are moving forward today. We're actually out on site with the park director and picking an access point for us to bring the equipment in to look at the site, staking out the silk fence, and hopefully we can talk them into maybe be able to get some of that done before February. But right now, all I'm saying is think early spring.
Any other Rotary moments? Anybody at all? They're very subdued groups this morning. All right. Well, if that is the case, then we will move on to our speaker. And Jen, would you like to do some introductions? Thank you.
So I have the wonderful pleasure of working with Tiffany at Star Company Realtors. And I didn't even know that Tiffany was the coordinator of the Badger Honor Flights here in Dane County. I don't know if the first time I found out was when I was volunteering for Red Cross and I saw you there. That was probably it. And then I found out that she's been doing this and kind of making sure that this happens since 2016, I believe. And I just think it's an amazing program, and she's going to tell us all about what it is and how it works, and probably even a little bit of the nitty gritty behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, come on up.
Thank you. So I brought with me today a short video that I'll show you at the end, because I can tell you so much about Badger Honor Flight because I'm super passionate about it. But I think sometimes it's great to hear from some of the men and women who have served that went on the flight. And so we have a short video that we put together that I love to share. But as Chad said, I'm Tiffany Tobias, and I have been working with Badger Honor Flight since 2016. I actually joined the board very shortly after I went on a flight. So what happened was, it was the beginning of 2016, and I had been looking at an organization to get involved in. And my husband is a veteran. He still serves. He's active. He's been in 30 years. He's actually here at Joint Force headquarters. My sister is an Air Force veteran. Both my grandfathers served in the Korean War. And I was looking for something to really dig into. And I reached out to the Badger Honor Flight. And at that time, there really wasn't, I attended a meeting and I was like, how can I support? How can I support? And they said, well, the Appleton group is looking for some people to sponsor veterans that don't have anyone to go with them on a flight. So I reached out to Old Glory in Appleton, and they said, for $500, you can sponsor a veteran. It happened to be that this gentleman had served in the Korean War, and he didn't have any family to go on the trip with. And so they invited me to actually go on the trip with him. So I drove up to Appleton, did this training, and I met him the morning of the flight. And his name was Dick, and Dick was very reserved. He was looking forward to the flight, but he didn't want to be thanked for his service. He was definitely a spitfire. Like when I met him in the morning, and I wasn't sure how the day was going to go. But what I saw is that throughout the entire day is that everything about his mood changed. And when we got back, I said goodbye to him, and I created this book of all these pictures of our day, and I sent it to him, and he called me a couple weeks later, and he said, carries the album with him everywhere, and he's been wearing his hat, and he's been so thankful to be thanked for his service. And he just recently passed away, which is really hard for me to talk about. But one of the reasons that I share that story is because that's what touched me so much that I got involved, and I kept that relationship with him. So when I came back into Madison, I reached out, and they said to me at the time in 2016, they said, "We need a fundraising director on our board." I did not realize the amount of work that it was going to be at that time, because our flights at that time were costing around $100,000 a flight to take, and right now we're almost up to $140,000 a flight, and we're doing 6 flights a year in order to get through our list. So I've been super blessed to be involved with the organization, and it's something that I'm super passionate about, so I can answer most of the questions that you have. Are any of you, I know Paul is familiar, right? Because you went on the flight, you said in 2019.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. Are all of you familiar with Honor Flight? Okay, fantastic. So we are an organization that's located here in Dane County. There are 6 honor flights out of Wisconsin. We started in 2010. The actual original honor flight started because a gentleman by the name of Earl Morris, he was working, I think he had, I'm going to say this plane wrong, but I want to say a small Cessna, like a 12-seater plane. And he was, they just finished the World War II memorial in 2005. And if you think about that, a lot of the World War II veterans, when they were finishing the memorial, weren't going to have an opportunity to see that memorial that was erected, for them. And so he created this idea to get a bunch of private pilots to take these World War II veterans out to DC to see the World War II memorial. A few years later, it actually evolved into people creating a gentleman out of North Carolina who started with Blue Ridge Honor Flight and getting a commercial plane. And so together they created the Honor Flight Network, which as of this year, through the 44 states, we've flown over 317,000 veterans since that 2007 mark, which was incredible. I mean, it's just amazing. So Honor Flight here in Dane County, Badger Honor Flight started in 2010. And our last flight in November, we just flew over our 5,500th veteran here out of Badger Honor Flight. So we're really proud about that. Tomorrow is our annual, we do a celebration for all of our volunteers. We have about 200 volunteers coming tomorrow night. And I'm actually in charge of that event as well. But what's really exciting is that we're going to announce tomorrow that we have already planned and scheduled 3 flights for spring for this coming year. So working a lot behind the scenes. I know I mentioned the cost of the flight is $140,000 roughly for each flight that we take. So fundraising is a big deal, but our mission this year, and it's going to continue into 2026, is actually not on fundraising. It's actually focused on the veterans that we're missing that have not turned in an application yet. Because at this point, we are still focused on flying through the Vietnam era. We have not opened up our seats yet to anyone post-Vietnam. And so when I talk to people, when we talk to our volunteers, every time we do a presentation, we want people to know that if there's any way that you can help, it's just reaching out to veterans, asking them if they've had the chance to fly, and making sure they get on our waiting list. Right now, we have about 500, roughly 500 Vietnam veterans still on our list. If anyone served in World War II or Korea, they do go up to the top of our list and they go on our next flight. We actually had, I don't know if any of you saw, we had a gal, I think she just celebrated her 102nd birthday, May. Her name was May. She was all over the news. She flew with us last year. She was a World War II veteran. But I think it's rare now that we get World War II folks that are signing up, but certainly that's our goal, is to make sure that we're not missing the opportunities to take advantage. Is there anything that you want to share, Paul, about your trip? I don't want to.
It was amazing to do this. The organization that goes in this behind the scenes has to be a great effort into that. But the day was amazing, and I know all of us that went were thrilled with the opportunity to do it. We were primarily Vietnam era by that time, and it was just a wonderful experience.
One thing that I think that, like you said, the organization that goes into it, One of the things that we try to do when we get out to DC is we try to see every memorial that we possibly can during the day. So we have our veterans come at 4 a.m. to the airport. And I know, like Chad said, he's been there in the morning volunteering for the Red Cross. So what we do is we set up that morning send-off ceremony to provide breakfast and, you know, a really nice send-off ceremony. Our veterans and our guardians. So as a veteran flying on the flight, you have the choice to choose a guardian to go with you. In Madison, we do not have that opportunity like I did in Appleton. You can't just pay to go with somebody. We do ask that the veteran chooses the person that they want to come with. That guardian does have a fee alongside of it. That is $500. That goes towards the cost of our flight. And then if the guardian has served in the service, that fee goes down to $300. That morning starts out at 4 a.m. As you know, very early. None of our participants in the flight have to go through TSA. So we do everything, we get everything along so that we can move quickly through. We board the plane, we land in DC, and from there we load 4 buses. We take those buses to our current schedule is we go directly to the Marine Corps Memorial. We have lunch there. There's an awesome Arby's, actually. We just had the gentleman who owns Arby's come with us on a flight. But what happened was he found out back in 2005, he owned a franchise in 2005 out there. He found out that these guys were flying these World War II vets out and found out that they didn't have like a plan for lunch. And so he started making lunch for these flights as they were coming in. And now he has over 210 employees that work during the honor flight seasons just to come to serve lunches to the different locations that we have, which is just incredible. So we go there, you have to, has anyone ever been to Arlington National Cemetery? We are allowed to take our buses in there. So they let us take our buses in, but we have to have a scheduled time. So we can go right up to the top, drop off our crew, our buses leave, we stay for the time. And then once that's over, we head on to our next stop. We stop at Korean, Vietnam and Lincoln Memorial. We go to World War II. We've recently been going to 9/11 and FDR. So we usually get in anywhere from 6 to 8 memorials in that day. And we get back on that plane. Chick-fil-A is served for us now on the plane. And then we head out and land in Madison. And I think Paul could probably attest to you when we get to Madison. If you have not attended a welcome home ceremony, I suggest that's something that you do at some point. It's one of the most amazing things that you could see. We have had anywhere from 1,500 people to almost 5,000 people come to the Dane County Airport to welcome home our veterans. And really that's what it is. It's the welcome home that, you know, they deserve, that maybe they haven't gotten in the past. And so that's what our focus is. And that's what our mission is, to make sure that all of our veterans have the opportunity to see the memorials that were erected in their honor, but then to actually get that welcome home that they actually deserve. One of the things that I find the most heartwarming is many times after we land, we will get a lot of letters, calls, emails, texts, all these different things from both the guardians and the veterans who went on the flight that just says, hey, this changed me because, or this is something that I needed that I didn't know because. And that's one of the reasons I keep doing it. It's a lot of work, and I think that, you know, when we go into the off season, it's one of those things where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much work, and I think our whole crew does. But then as soon as we fly again, you know, come March or April, you're like, this is what it was for. It's emotional every time, and it's rewarding every time. I should have asked, do we have any other veterans in the room? All right, and are you guys eligible to fly? So, oh, you did? Okay. Yeah, so. Yeah, so I think I did bring some applications, and I'll leave a few if anyone wants to take a look at them. So right now we are letting anyone can turn in an application. So one of the things that's going to happen is the Desert Storm Memorial is going to be hopefully finished by the end of next year. And what we're thinking is by the time that's finished, then we'll start opening up that flight to post-Vietnam. If you served during the Vietnam era, it doesn't matter where you serve, and I think that's the most important. Doesn't matter if you were stateside, National Guard, Reserve, it doesn't matter what your service was. We focus on, you signed up, you signed up to serve, and so you deserve to take the flight with us. So I'll leave some applications. We are accepting post-Vietnam applications at this time. We're putting them into our database, and I always encourage people to put their application in, because as soon as that does open up, then it'll be advertised, in a very public way. And so then our list might get, back up. When I first started, our list was well over 2,000 people. And it continues, we get applications in all the time. This is the lowest our list has been at 500. And this year, we flew, I think 500 and I want to say 517 veterans this year. So a lot of people ask, if there's ways that they can help. I will say one of the things that we always look for, and I can send Chad my email for Badger Honor Flight, is it's not always about coming to help in person for the send off or the welcome home. We're always looking for people to help on the admin side, because that's one of the things that we struggle with the most. I mean, if you think about it, when we start making phone calls to fly roughly 500 veterans, this year we made 847 phone calls, and that was not including calling their guardians. So 847 phone calls is a lot. And that's like that's how many times we had, not counting the fact that you and I all know that when you get a call that you don't know from a cell phone, you rarely answer it anymore. So, you're calling 2 or 3 times and what have you. So that's something that we're always looking for. We send out a letter at the beginning, email at the beginning of January, and ask if people want to help with anything on the admin side. So that's certainly something that I want to tell people. And I could show you our video. I know I don't want to take up too much. I don't know what time I started. Sorry. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Well, I was blessed in 2015 to go with my dad.
Oh, you were? Okay, good.
Badger Honor Flight from Madison.
Yes.
And it was probably the most special day that I can remember I've ever done. It was phenomenal, and I was also blessed that, and it's one of those things you can't push on, because I lost him 2 years after that.
Yeah.
And we never would have been able to go, and I can remember, there was so much special things that happened that day. I can remember how, all the wheelchairs we have and pushing him around, even though he could walk just fine, but it's hard on them. We're up at 4:00. It's a long trip.
Yeah.
And back then, and I heard that this has changed, but when we flew, we actually had police escorts that took us, and we didn't stop at a stoplight. It was phenomenal. I can remember flying in, and all the purple hat ladies were there to greet us, and and all of these veterans were going like, all the girls were waiting for us. And so it was just fun. And I mean, my dad was Korean, but we still had a fair amount of World War II in that flight with us. And they were barely could be there, and but they still were happy, very happy. And then coming home, the mail call is unbelievable. Where they all get a packet of letters from all the loved ones that, we all wrote letters and turned it in. And one of the things I can remember that we were fortunate enough, I think they assigned the plane alphabet, because I'm a bird cat, so it's B. And so we were like in first class, and everybody said, "How are you rated first class?" But because we were way up in front of the plane, I can remember when we landed, was that walking out, and these Legion girls were there and went and grabbed my dad. He was just dead tired, but he was like the second or third guy off the plane, and he was grabbed by these Legion girls and were walked down it. And you would swear he was like the cockiest chicken walking plane, having these girls grab him by the arm, and the band is going and everything else. I mean, and then we had just a huge group of our family there, you know, just cheering them on as they're coming through. It was a sight. Honestly, it was quite touching, and it was a day I will never.
Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, so we do, I'm glad you mentioned the mail call. So that's one of the things, that's another way that you can help volunteer. So probably in 2015, you know, just recently we started to struggle a little bit with mail calls. So we send out letters to the family saying, hey, we want to collect mail call packets. And I do think it's a little bit of a change in just who we are in the age of people now. You know, we didn't have troubles getting mail call for our World War II veterans and our Korean veterans. But I will say we do struggle sometimes getting mail call for some of our Vietnam veterans. And so we always say to people, if you want to send, you know, letters, you know, or send a group, you know, letters that just say thanking a veteran for their service, we have a whole stack of mail that we'll put in for when they're not coming back from their flight if they don't have personal letters, so that we have something to give them on their flight homes. The police escort, yes, we still have it at our flight. We didn't have it during the shutdown, so we flew twice this year during the shutdown, and it was super scary because we didn't know if the bathrooms were going to be open from day to day. I mean, we brought everything you could possibly imagine to be like a somewhat portable toilet because we were like not sure what was going to happen. So we didn't have it during then, but we do get it for some of the time now. And thank you for mentioning the wheelchairs too. So we bring roughly 70 wheelchairs with us on the flight. So we load everything the day before. We bring all of our equipment. We usually bring 6 medical folks along with us so that we're prepared throughout the day. And we always want to make sure that anyone always has the opportunity to take a rest, sit down. I'm a bus captain, and so I tell every time we get to Arlington, I tell my entire bus, I say, get a wheelchair really fast, because if you have a wheelchair, you get to sit right up front. So I'm like, I don't care if you need it or not, take one. So, but all good points that you made, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Did on a recent flight, President Obama, 3 people died.
Yeah.
How that happened?
So I'm part of the flight team, and I will say none of us knew at all. So we landed, and it was our November flight. We landed, and the group of us on the flight team, our goal is always like, land, we get to the gate, they do a water salute as we're coming in, and we get up right away because we have to load our buses, and it takes a long time. And so we all went to get up, and the flight crew was like, we need you to sit down, we need you to sit down. And we were like, okay, and we were all kind of like sitting there, and then he walked onto the plane.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, so he walked onto the plane, and I couldn't see. I was in the exit row, and I could just hear his voice. And I looked back at one of our other volunteers. I'm like, Obama? Like, you know, it's like so weird because he's got a very distinct voice. And sure enough, you know, it was. And so honestly, what I think happened was we have never been the only flight that flew into DCA. So they have kind of like this little charter wing that's set up for honor flights. And that's why they can let people come into DC. They let people come into that wing to welcome in our veterans when we get there. And so he never went into the airport. I mean, he literally came up the side of the plane, took a picture with all the veterans, all the volunteers, and gave everyone a presidential point, kind of right when they stepped off, you know, right before you even go down the hallway. So it's never happened before on our flight, and it was definitely something that none of us knew about ahead of time. Had a choice one way or the other, and it didn't matter. I mean, it just happened. And so I think it got a lot of press, as you know. I think it was on every news station that I could imagine. I keep joking about that because our volunteer party tomorrow night, I planned for around 100 people. So I had Mission Barbecue coming to give dinner tomorrow. The last couple of years, we've had 100 people. And so I had to do my RSVP. And so we budgeted for like 100 and 150. And I had 215 RSVPs. So when I sent it over to our treasurer, I'm like, it's not my fault, it's Obama's fault. So, yes.
How many veterans do you take on each flight?
We try to do 90. Yep, so it varies between 85 and 90. And that's one of the reasons that we don't offer that service here to just be a guardian to go along, because if we have an open seat, we want to take another veteran along. We have an amazing crew. So there's this crew that they are like Badger Honor Flight DC group, and majority of them have a federal job in DC, but they went to school here in Madison. So there's a group of about 10 to 15 folks out there that'll meet us, and they'll take the day off and they'll go with us. Or usually we're on a Saturday, but they'll plan and they'll accompany a veteran out there so that they have a guardian for the day. But so that we can have an open seat.
You said you bring a medical crew, or
Mhm.
is it nurses, doctor? How many medical? I can imagine what the demographic of your group.
Yeah.
Do you get very many medical emergencies?
We really don't. So when you get into, and I don't have a medical background, so I hope I'm answering this correctly, but we do bring a doctor with us. We bring an EMT, we bring a nurse, we bring somebody that handles, that's sole job is to handle oxygen. So we usually have a few people on oxygen. And then somebody whose job on the medical team is to work the lifts on the bus, for people that cannot physically get on and off the bus. I do know that when we are in DC, when we're in the proper area, if a medical event happens, we still have to reach out. Our medical professional can handle the situation, but we do have to reach out to, so I don't know how the licensing works, but I know that we have people with us to like take care, and they're all there, but we have to reach out there if we have a big emergency. Most of the time, I mean, like on our November flight, it was very much like somebody had a bee sting, they weren't sure if they were allergic to, like, we didn't have to, we could handle that. A few people got a cut, somebody fell. I mean, nothing that was like crazy. Yeah. And one of the things that we do is one of us always, we call it, you're the overnight person. So if I was the overnight person for the flight, what I would do is I would pack a bag. And so my sole job would be that if anything happened to any of our veterans or anyone for that matter on our flight, and they weren't able to get back on that flight with us on Saturday night, then I would stay in DC with them until we could get their family out there, or they could go home. Yeah.
Another story from my travels was one of the special moments that happened that day was early in the morning when we're getting ready to go. Dad actually recognized somebody that he had not seen since basic training. And those two, you would have swore they never, they saw each other last week. They just sat and talked and talked and talked. It was such a special moment. And I know that until he passed, they stayed in touch after that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Those are the stories that, that we hear so many of that, you'd be surprised at how often that happens, or we'll be out in DC and somebody will run into somebody they knew from an Iowa honor flight that they served with, and they're walking past and we're just happen to be there on the same day. Like, there's so many of those stories that are just so heartwarming because it creates relationships for a long time. Yeah.
We've had a couple of veterans from here. Unfortunately, they're no longer, they've passed, from our club that have gone. And so a number of us, I don't know how many, but we went to greet them when they came home. And it was so fun. And just a quick, cute story is one of them had a friend. And so she was there with his family to greet him when he came home, and he was in a wheelchair. His name was Gail Chase, so most of you probably know that name. And so I believe her name was Ruth, if I'm recalling correctly. And so, they were bringing him off the plane and stuff, and she thought she saw him, and she ran up and she gave him this big old kiss. And then she looked, and it wasn't him. And she got back to where we were. She goes, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed." And I go, "What happened?" She goes, "I thought it was Gail. And I gave a big kiss, and then it wasn't Gail." And I was like, "Well, you made somebody's day." But it's just really cute.
I probably loved it. there's a lady there's so many volunteers in DC, it's incredible, but there's a lady who always dresses up at the World War II Memorial on Saturdays and puts on red lipstick. I don't know if you remember her, if either of you, there's a group of them, but the one lady's always there, and she puts on red lipstick. And so when our veterans, specifically our male veterans, walk through, to go into the entrance, she always says, "Do you want a kiss?" And so they'll walk around through the rest of the day with a red lipstick on their cheek, which is so funny.
I missed that part.
Yeah, she's been there as long as I can remember, and I'm sure she misses some days, but yeah, it's so funny to me.
There were a lot of other honor flights out there when we were out there.
Yeah.
That day. We were amazed. Every place we went to, there were other communities, other organizations doing it, but a number of them, we didn't tend to see the same ones again, but they were all around.
Yeah, so they have honor flights so there's roughly around 130 hubs now that have been created. Some of them fly once a year, some of them fly, like Milwaukee, they used to fly 2 planes multiple times a year. Some of them take buses. Some, like Alaska has an honor flight. Because they're so far away, I mean, it takes days for all of them to join, to get onto the flight to start with, and then they get out there and they spend 3 or 4 days out there. So it just kind of depends. We typically find that Saturdays are the best for us, mainly because we can get our volunteers. I know the Appleton group goes on Tuesdays. I think once in a while they go on Saturdays. So it just kind of depends on the day. We get our schedule ahead of time that says, here's all the flights that are going to be here, because as you know, if anyone's been to DC, parking is definitely an issue. And we have to have a schedule our schedule, we have our actual flight coordinator, Jody McLean. She's been doing it since roughly 2010. And she is the most organized person that I can ever have met in my life. I mean, she has to have that day plan to like seconds of, okay, we got to get, the bus has to leave, So that's what it's about. It's just, making sure that we can get to everything in the place when there's that many folks out there.
Can you talk a little bit about your fundraising efforts? I mean, I go to football games and I see people come by all the time and says Badger Honor Flight.
Yeah.
I always put money in the jar because I'm assuming that's what it's for. But
Yeah.
What all do you guys do?
So that one specifically, so we're one of the only organizations that has been allowed to do that on the streets during game days, nonprofits, and we have been doing that. Oh gosh, I'd say probably the last 10 years. It's, believe it or not, it's our second largest fundraiser of the year. So they're coming tomorrow night, and I believe I'll probably not get this number right, but we have about 20 to 30 people that collect for Badger Honor Flight for Badger game days. And they all have certain tailgates that they are used to going to. So this year, I mean, I don't remember how many home games we had. But so it's just our home games. I think they collected almost $67,000.
Wow, that's awesome.
This year. Yeah. Yeah. So, and they're called the Dream Team. They're people who have gone on the flight and then just other volunteers. And that's one of their things. We have a really big, one of our largest events for the year is our clay shoot. It's out at Milford Hills. It was done in memory of a veteran that had flown with us. And that gets, that I'm also announcing tomorrow night, which is $76,000 that was raised from, essentially shooting clays for a day out at Milford Hills. We have a golf outing that brings in around $50,000. We have companies that are local. We don't do a lot of our own stuff. So like the Dodgeville area, like the Piggly Wigglies, essentially they just did a roundup for us. Kopke's Greenhouse, if you're familiar with Kopke's, they do an event every Memorial Day weekend for us, and it raises about $20,000 where they auction off these big plants. We get a lot of, believe it or not, which is, it's a testament to the group and the day that they had, but probably our largest, not fundraiser, but way that we get money is memorials. After somebody's passes, that's what it is. And then we do have some businesses that will donate, through grants and things like that. But it's a lot of small car shows and parades and, we had a Legion group that sold water at Oktoberfest thing, and gave us $2,000 here or there. So it's a lot of those less than $5,000 type fundraisers that somebody just says, we chose you to do. So it's a lot of those little things that, that add up, which is amazing. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Do you still want me to show the video?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know. I know you said like 20 minutes. Do I know what I'm doing here? Oh, shoot. Is there a sound? Maybe you can't hear it.
I was aware of the honor flight, but I had never really thought about going on the trip because I felt there were a lot of other veterans that probably deserved it. Deserved it more than I did.
I feel I was really qualified to become a honor flight member.
If you put the uniform on, you answer the call of duty. Whether or not you enlisted or were drafted, you have done something that a small segment of our society has done. You are the reason why we get to enjoy the liberties, the freedom, and the great things that we have today. That America, thank you for what you did.
It's not when you served or what you did there. It's that you were there. You did your part for our country. I'd like to thank everybody that's involved in this. I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart because this is something I'm really looking forward to.
Puts you down to your knees pretty low when you come out of that walkway. Especially all the young people that were there on a Saturday. Yes. We didn't quite get that reception. Sitting in O'Hare Airport waiting for my wife and little girl I hadn't seen for a while and getting heckled.
Like a lot of people said, we weren't welcome when we come home, You won't tell people that we wouldn't be a part. It was very hard coming home. We got off the plane in San Francisco, got on a bus. We had people heckling us, calling us baby killers. Stuff like that, church. It was real bad.
It's a dream to come and see everything in DC of the memorials that this country is participating in. We have classmates and a cousin on the wall and uncles that served in World War II. And, as a proud veteran, I want to honor those folks too.
And the shirt, many of them went in together on day one. So we're like family.
Articles are pretty close.
Where do you start? We live in a great country. The things that the honor flight are doing now for the veterans is long overdue. This needed to be done a long time ago. And now it is.
That was so great and excellent. I don't know how to actually explain it, but I mean, it was better than you could ever expect, ever.
I couldn't ask for a better spending a day. I loved every minute of it. I've already told 6 people about this already and told them where they can get the paperwork. And I'm going to encourage them if I have to hit them over the head with a baseball bat.
That's your list. I know people do. Don't want to.
I would very much encourage people to do it. Like I say, I couldn't believe the reception we had this morning. I could not believe it. Come to this honor flight. You won't regret it.
It always tells the story better than I do.
You do a pretty good job.
Thank you. Yeah, so I appreciate you guys having me today, and thank you, Chad, for reaching out. It's always, like I said, our mission is to, I know you all have heard about the flight, but it really is, if there's anything that you could do for us is just to make sure that when you see a veteran and, ask them if they've flown and, encourage them to sign up. I will tell you that I tell people it's not easy. A lot of people say, hey, I don't deserve it or I don't want to go, but I try to tell people sign up, and then when you get the call, you can make that decision because yes, you do deserve to go. But at least get on the list and get your name there so that you have the opportunity once you get that call. So any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, sure. Let's see what we. You can just take it out.
Okay, yeah.
I don't see why it would not.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Goes right back to your
Yay.
name.
There we go. Thank you so much. Okay. Amazing. All right, Dave, happy dollars.
Happy dollars. Take out your happy dollars, folks. I'll give you a couple seconds. Out with your pocket, you put your wallet in. All right, let's start here. At my table. Nobody. Okay. I want to be here. Hey, Paul.
I have two of them, although I only have $1, so I have to go on the sale
Okay.
for the other one. First of all, for Tiffany, you're causing me to think back to that day. It was November of 2019. I was in the Army from 1965 to 1967. I came home in 1967, and it's before all the negativity started at the airports. Vietnam was heating up, but it was not as tight as it was. I spent a year on Okinawa, so it was a much different world than I knew. But I can just imagine for those people how this was finally a moment that they came to grips with what they experienced coming home. But it was an amazing day, and as you show the video, I lived back through that. So thank you, Tiffany, for doing that. I appreciate it. My second happy dollar is, if you recall, a few weeks ago, Jennifer Garrett, who is the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Safety and Public Professional Services, spoke to us about the need for people who wanted to serve on boards and commissions in the state government. Well, I've had a change in my life this year that has given me a lot of free time to explore things that I've wanted to do. And this one, she was talking about it, I thought, well, this is something I've never done. It's still government service, participating as a citizen in the actions of government. So I thought, well, I'll give that a try. So I talked to her about it, and she said, well, the cemetery board is always looking. It's the guy that's going to be 80 in a few months. Yeah. Before I know it, I'll be a permanent resident. I put in, I did file an application, and I put in medical ones, medical board, pharmacy board, nursing board, and one other one. And the governor appointed me recently to the pharmacy board. So my first meeting will be in December 18th, and it is all the results of Jennifer coming here and doing it. So if any of you were struck by that need, I know there are openings out there. If you were struck with an interest in it, those opportunities do exist. I can tell you the route that I went with it. So I have to thank Rotary for that opportunity. It gave me the opportunity to do. Thank you. Right.
I just realized during the presentation that my son had a chance to do that. Like, he was employed by a TV station, and they had him go, like, that it was like we heard today, one of the most emotional lives he had, and we put together a video of it in the Milwaukee.
Over here. This is a quiet group. A couple weeks ago, you were so loud.
I have three. One, thank you, Tiffany. Just really great to have you back. I think we had Steve Bartlett, might have been his name, a few years ago, but it's been a while. So thank you for coming and talking to us. Really appreciate that. And then the second one is, hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. We did at our house as well. We had about 30 some people there. So, and then the next day, my sister-in-law and I went, just the two of us, and went Black Friday shopping. So that was fun. And then the third one is, of course, my daughter came home. So that's always a great time. And then I'm going to go to the volleyball, the first round of the tournament this Thursday. It's Thursday and Friday. This Thursday and Friday at the UW with a friend who has season tickets. So he got me a ticket, so I can go with him to the retreat. So it'll be fun.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Can you put me down for one, I just thank you for your presentation. I was reminded when my grandma turned 90, she served during World War II, and the TV station, the local TV station up north, came to her birthday party, and she was all a dinner and had a very similar
sort of approach, right? I think a lot of folks in her generation very self-effacing, and so it was just really touching. So thank you for continuing this work here. My second happy dollar was for everybody that shared happy dollars and I didn't have happy dollars. I did 78% participation rate. Hey, now you want everybody to throw in
Happy dollars for Tiffany saying yes and being willing to come here at 7 o'clock in the morning. Which, you know, when you tell people, hey, would you come and speak to Rotary? Oftentimes they're like, yeah, I might be interested. Oh, at 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh, no, but she was great about that. You know, my dad served in the Navy in the early 60s, and growing up, he never talked about it. He was not in during wartime, but he just never talked about it. And then in the last decade or so, he finally will share, you know, some things about it. And one of the things I just never realized, but you hear it over and over again, oftentimes people who didn't serve during wartime don't feel that they deserve that recognition. And I'm not sure I understand why, but our son Jake, he's in the Air Guard now, but he was in the Air Force. When he went into the Air Force, he got hooked up with the F-35, and the F-35 was not deployable when he was first in the Air Force, so he was never deployed while he was in the Air Force, and he felt less than because of that. When he joined the Air Guard, he's now, at Truax here, he's now been deployed 3 times. His first time to Afghanistan when the war was still going on, and that's the first time he felt like he's actually served. And again, I wish I could understand that, but that's in his psyche, and he has been deployed twice since then. And then Noah, our bonus son, who went to the Air Force Academy, he's been on 1 deployment, and it was not one where conflict was happening. And I see some of that from him too, and it's just a shame because serving is serving.
Yeah.
Well, I have a house guest, Wendy Harris, who's worked with Rotary. And over the summer, she was in Europe, and her daughter also came, and they traveled a little bit together. And they spent some time with Jade in France and Laura in Germany. And everybody says hello. So very nice.
Put me down for $5. One, thank you. I work here at the Deployment Club, and so we see a lot of veterans, and you're right, most of them, even my own husband, he's like, oh, other people think other veterans deserve things more, and I'm like, whatever your part was, you helped them too. So yeah, I think we need to keep encouraging them to be part of that. My second one is I'm going to miss Rotary for 2 weeks because I am going on a cruise starting Saturday. I haven't been on a real vacation probably for like.
Well, ones we're not going to have, you might have a month off. Oh, that's
right. Panama, Costa Rica, Bahamas. Going with my brother. He and his wife were going to go on this cruise, and then she kind of took a turn for the worse one into hospice. And he had promised her that he would take his son on a vacation. And then he called me, and he goes, well, why did you go? And I'm like, oh, not again. I'm like, oh, maybe I will. I'm leaving my husband at home. Somebody's going to take care of the dog. So, yeah. I'm going. Oh, good. Well, yeah. Thank you. And now I can't. Oh, I'm sorry I was late this morning because this is another first in about 20 years. I turned my alarm off. And I woke up and it was 10 to 7. I'm like, I'm sorry, Jen, I missed that.
Let's see.
I crashed.
Your pants are inside out.
No, they're not.
You get a free one. Tiffany. You do have to stand up.
Okay, sorry.
That doesn't have to have anything to do with what your life is.
No, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you all again for having me. I'm really excited. I didn't mention this, but when you were talking about the trip, is that it is somewhat to do with honor, right? But myself and a couple of our longtime volunteers, we are heading out to DC actually on the 12th, and we are going to a race at Arlington for Race Across America. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's just 2.5 days. We're not going out with the Association with Honor Flight, but 4 of us ladies decided it would be a really fun weekend to go in and participate in the Race Across America, but we need to do it at Arlington.
When is that?
I think the Race Across America is the 13th of December.
What is Race Across America?
So they actually, it's a huge program. You can actually go on and donate. So they lay at all of the established like military cemeteries, whether they're small, big, large, doesn't matter where they're at. They lay a wreath on every headstone on that one Saturday across America. And it's all done by volunteers, and then they're there through Christmas. Thank you.
Over to the other side of the room.
I remembered my other one.
Go for it. I'll give it to you. Just sit on the next one.
I know, we gotta stand. Our snow blower was broken for like 4 years. We got back on Wednesday.
Yeah. Did you hear? Were you here for the phone?
What?
Oh, you gotta tell it.
Were you here for my phone?
No. Just have to give me a copy.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
I've been around Honor Flight, and then last week, Thanksgiving, I was at my daughter's house and with grandkids, and we were watching Macy's Holiday Parade on TV, and the Lady Gaga show came on. My granddaughter started to try to follow the dance, and she'd never done it before, of course, and she was having trouble keeping up. But at the end, when it came to the following part, she picked that down real good.
Yes. Here we go, Dan.
Well, I'm here to help Dave this morning.
Obviously needed.
Well, one of my happy dollars is for Steve Bartlett, who was a service above self, and he was one of the first with Badger Honor Flight, and he also grabbed me. He was a good friend, and grabbed me and got me to get Dad in, and I know he helped to get Dad in because it was still World War II times, and the first Koreans were just starting, and he managed to get them in. And if he didn't do it, I don't know if we'd been able to go. So hats off to Steve Bartlett. I haven't seen him in a while, but God bless him. And so I know the work he did, and if you're doing that work, you're phenomenal. So thank you. Also, my deer hunting report in the family, we got $3, and so I'm paying $1 a point. So we got 3 8-pointers in ours, but probably the biggest deal of it all was that my granddaughter, that's 14, Dad was there hunting, and she said, I want to hunt with Grandpa. And so I was able to sit with her and be with her when she got to harvest her very first 8-point buck. So that was pretty phenomenal just to be with her. And with that moment, it was great.
Right. Good. I got everybody now. I'm not calling on you.
That was to you.
Okay.
Thank you for speaking. That was very moving. And made me think sort of like Jamie, like I had a great aunt who was in World War II in the Pacific, and growing up, I didn't know what she'd done in the Pacific, and she was a nurse. She stayed in the military. She ended up as a lieutenant colonel, and my family was not like, I didn't know. I didn't understand. I didn't understand what she had done. I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't understand what the ranking until she died. And we went to her funeral, and it was a full military funeral. And I was younger. I was like in my 20s, and I was just overwhelmed by the people that were there and the ceremony, and which caused me then to do some research. I'm like, oh, like this. She was like, oh my big stuff. Like this is what I can't. This is amazing what she did. I had no idea, and she would have been just amazed with something like that. So thank you. So anyhow, kept her there. All right, little raffle business. And if you could please draw a ticket for us. The last digit. No pressure.
952.
Somebody
Right
here
before-
Give him an application with it.
Give him an application.
Yeah.
Oh, close. Thank you, Jeff. All right. And our Rotary fact of the day. In 1979, Rotary began a project to immunize 6 million children against polio in the Philippines. This led to Rotary making polio eradication its top priority. In 1988, Rotary began the Polio Plus campaign with an initial fundraising pledge of $120 million. Providing vitamin A supplements during the polio immunization has averted an estimated 1.5 million childhood deaths since 1998, and that is the plus in Polio Plus, which I didn't know. So, rodeo of the day. And with that, we are done, and thank you. Ring the bell. Thank you.